My name is Luis Huete. I happen to be faculty of a business school called Huete, that is based, as you know, in Barcelona, Madrid, but also in New York, Munich, and Sao Paulo. And I'm going to be sort of addressing this masterclass. That the topic of this masterclass is the talent lifetime value. Thank you so much for joining this masterclass. The topic is going to be the lifetime value of our talent base. Lifetime value is very much looking for the long term, and this is tend to be very much related with good leadership. But let's start with understanding the context. What is lifetime value, and what are the variables that are behind getting an improvement in this lifetime value for talent base. And I'm going to be using a model that was a framework that was developed by Harvard Business School faculty years ago. I had the privilege to work with them for many years, and this is called the service profit chain. You will see that the service profit chain makes so much sense, is so logic, but at the same time is so interesting because it's all about creating a virtuous circle. A virtuous circle in which the interests of the different parts, meaning by this the owner, meaning by this the management team, meaning by this the employees, meaning by this the customer base, in this case the talent, meaning by this the growth of the company, all is tied, because everything is interconnected. You cannot improve one part of it without sort of working in the different variables that you will see that are part of this service profit chain. And as you will see, it's all about the leadership that is able to create a context in which the people work with a strong perceived value that changes the way they feel about their company, about the work that they do. That has a tremendous impact on the perceived value, in this case for talent base. This also changes, so to speak, the emotional state of our talent base. That changes the behavior, and eventually out of this you get more loyalty, meaning by loyalty a longer and a better relationship, and then this ties up with more growth and more profitability. This is the service profit chain. This is the context in which we are going to be sort of providing you some ideas. Expect something like half an hour of this masterclass, and there is going to be something like 25 slides that will be at your disposition. As always, and at least this is what I do when I attend a masterclass, I always use two columns. One says, hey, which are the ideas that were relevant for me, and then another column with what to do in terms of trying to apply those ideas and try to sort of becoming action-oriented. So this is my suggestion, do that. How am I going to structure the masterclass? Very easily. I'm going to be using another framework that I strongly recommend you, that is starting with the what is the lifetime value, the talent lifetime value, then the why, then moving to the whom, and then ending in the how. We are going to be spending more time in the how, but you will see that through these four typical elements, you can, the what is more the short-term effectiveness, the why is the long-term effectiveness, the reason why we do that, the whom is more the long-term efficiency, and then the how to do it is going to be more the short-term efficiency. And again, the message is you as a leader, you need to work on the effectiveness and the efficiency, both in the short term and in the long term, because this is good management. This is good performing and transforming, and this is what we expect from you, that you work on those four dimensions. So let's start with the what is the talent lifetime value. And basically, as you can imagine, it's obvious, is, hey, what is the economic impact that that particular talent may have in our business in the whole life of the relationship. So it's very much trying to apply something that was born in the finance world, that is this net present value, that says that you can understand a relationship with how much do you have to invest to get that business, and then how long is that business going to produce revenues, and it's applying the same concept. And in that sense, it's wonderful because it's just moving from a transactional view towards more a relationship. And as you can imagine, relationship are very asymmetrical. So typically, you have to be very careful because for any mistake that we make in a relationship, you need at least 3 positive impact to leave that relationship where it used to be. So when we talk about lifetime value, we talk about quality of relationship. We talk about how smart we are in creating in our talent base both a sense of believing that we add value to them, and also a sense of belonging. Belonging is that we are connected, that we understand them, that they are part of something, we are part of something that somehow connect us with them. This is the beauty that somehow is thinking from short-term sort of performance towards more a long-term sort of way of thinking, and this is what the lifetime value can bring to the table, and eventually this is what we expect you to do, to work on it, to really think in terms of relationship, in terms of giving, because typically you win a relationship at the beginning by giving more than eventually they expect, and then eventually out of this you create this sort of goodwill that allow us to have a long relationship and a positive relationship with our talent base. So let's move to what we call the elements of the talent lifetime value. And as I said before, we are going to be using this financial approach that is similar to the net present value, that probably you are aware of it. So basically we are going to distinguish 3 elements. One is what is the talent acquisition cost. Yeah, because just bringing a new talent in takes some marketing efforts, takes some sales effort, and we have to come up with a sort of a figure. How much does it cost to get sort of a new talent in? Because that's part of the sort of investment that we do in terms of creating this relationship. Then second element is very important, and is probably the most critical one, is the duration. How long are we going to be able to get that relationship in terms of from day one till the day that he or she decided to leave us? This is sort of the years in which we are going to be having revenue from that particular talent. And then the third element is the revenue, the return per year, so to speak, is sort of the revenue that we can get from that particular talent. And let's get a holistic view. It's not just let's think in terms of repeated sales. Let's add into this whatever is cross-selling. Let's get into this whatever price sensitivity that we may change. So the happier he or she may be with us, the more willing, the higher the willingness to pay, and that can be part of the equation. Then eventually also is the quality of the feedback that he or she may give us. Again, difficult to monetize or difficult to know how much is this in terms of money, but holistically we have to think that part of the return is also the quality of the feedback that he provides to us. Then typically also we have identified that the more loyal a talent end up becoming, eventually the less operating costs, because he or she is more aware of the system, the process, there is a better understanding, and that is part of the equation of the lifetime value of that talent base. And then eventually also one of the most important part of this lifetime value is the referrals. And again, difficult to measure in terms of money, but very impactful from the point of view of the economic impact that these talent may have in our business during their stay with us. So referrals is recommendation, as you know. Referrals is him or her bringing in new talent. This is part of the lifetime value. So my suggestion is the following: is identify those elements that tend to be related with what we call loyalty. Identify which are the ones that are more important for us, and try to make it viable. Try to make it possible so that there is indirectly we invite our talent base to stay longer and to have a sort of a better relationship according to these 5 or 6 variables that happen to be related with the return. Then one quick, so to speak, trick, so to speak, is how long does a talent stay with us? Well, depends. But basically, you may have an approximation by what we call the desertion rate or the exit rate. So it's basically, imagine if we happen to have in our portfolio 100 talent, if 15 of them decided not to stay with us the next period, we have what is called a desertion rate of 15%, so 15 out of 100. And then 1 divided by this 0.15, that exit rate, is equal to the expected years that he or she is going to stay with us. In this particular case, 1 divided by 0.15 is a little bit 6 years and something. So here's also a mandate. If you lower the exit rate, average stay will increase. And this has a very interesting, so to speak, impact, because then there will be longer the relationship, and then if we have positive returns, then the impact on the net present value, on the impact on the lifetime value increases tremendously. Another idea that I want to emphasize is called the customer equity. And we can translate that into what is the talent equity. And talent equity, who, by the way, some financial institutions are starting to look at it when doing valuation and the like, is the multiplication of 2 very easy things. It's number of customers that you have multiplied by their lifetime value. In our particular case, number of talent that we have multiplied by the talent lifetime value. And this is the talent equity. And basically, this is the expected capability to create revenues according to the customer base that we have. So basically, the talent equity will increase with more talent around, and also with a bigger sort of talent lifetime value. So work on both, and the idea is that a company that is able to bring more people in and make them stay longer and developing with them a better relationship, then you get potentially an exponential growth. It's great for all of us. We've been covering a little bit the what, and so let's move to the why. Why is we need a compelling why. Typically, as a human beings, if we want to do an exceptional sort of effort. And I think that it's very important not only to talk about the what and the how, but also very much about the why. And let me emphasize that the why is, there are at least 3 reasons why this talent lifetime value is one of those mechanisms or one of those tools that I strongly recommend that we use in our business. And the idea, 3 ideas. One is the following: is one great way to escalate the business, because this is one great way through which we can grow organically, and typically organic growth is more profitable than just the growth that is by acquisition. So that's one way through which we can escalate the business. Second, and for me this is more important, is because it's a sign of a healthy company. So let me explain this a little bit. Companies happen to be living systems. They were born one day, they've been growing eventually, they will mature, at some point they will go through an aging process, and at some point they will die. So it's basically, this is not genetic, because for humans it's genetic. For companies, it's very much about the quality of the management and the quality of the leadership. So basically, there are companies that live for 200 years, 300 years. There are companies that will die, so to speak, 5 years later. So it's not genetic. It's more the quality of the management. And typically, what we see is the following: if you get a company, if you get a living system in which the relationship with the customer base, with the talent base, works well, this is a very good indication that this living system is healthy. As you know, by system theory, a system works well when the parts that happen to be part of this system happen to be good, but also is very much related with the quality of the relationship. So, for me, what is important in increasing the talent lifetime value is that forces us to work on the quality of the relationship with our customer base. You won't increase the talent lifetime value by tricks. You will increase that by adding value, but really being on top of those talent needs. And remember that also trick that is give them what they sell them what they want, give them what they need. So this lifetime value is very much about understanding their needs, understanding that maybe this is not what they ask us to do for them, but this is once that we got to know them, is the more that we know their needs, the more value that eventually we will create, and eventually the longer and the better that relationship with the talent base. And then a third reason why I think that the why is around the whys is, we say that management tend to be more short-term oriented, and we tend to also say that leadership is more the long-term view. So using this tool, the talent lifetime value, is also one way through which we can work on the quality of our leadership team. And again, management is performing, leadership is transforming, so we get both things working together in a symbiotic way, who happen to be the best way to do it. So we started with the what, then we moved to the why. So we still have two more things to work on, the whom and then the how. So let's start with the whom. Why? Well, because in all the relationship there are two sides, and there has to be some flow between the talent and somehow the person that is taking care of him or her. We are going to be, and I suggest you to use this model that you will see, that according to how strong is the position that our company has vis-a-vis that talent, and according to the potential growth of this talent, meaning by this how young he is, how influential he or she is, how much added services that we can provide him or her. This will be the potential. You mix those two variables, you get that typical 2x2 matrix that we like so much in business school. And then you get eventually that there is talent. There are talents that may be high, both in current position and also with the potential, and then you need for them the best account managers that you have around. Use them for this particular segment of our talent base. And from the psychological profile, as you know, we are using a distinction between hunters and farmers. Hunters tend to be people that are more opportunity driven. They are more into how to get a deal. They are more into negotiation. They are more into get things done, this sort of thing. These type of profiles tend to be more the hunters. And then, fortunately enough, there is also another profile of people that are farmers. Farmers is people that tend to listen more, tend to be more service-oriented, tend to be more generous, tend to be more empathic, tend to be more understandable, this sort of profile. If you happen to have someone that is good at both, great, but that tend to be the exception. And eventually, this profile of people that are both farmers and farmers and hunters use it for these particular talent segments that are high potential, strong position. Then, if you happen to have some talent that happen to be the current position is not very strong, but there is a high potential, use more the hunters profile. Why? Well, because probably they are going to be smarter in developing the potential of that particular talent base. And then, as obvious, there is always for opportunities for people that you have a strong position right now, but you feel that the potential, the growth potential is not very high, use more a farmer. And then eventually with these clients that you see that the position is not very strong and also the potential growth is not very strong, hey, try to use more digital means to serve that person, because eventually, because of both characteristics, he or she may not be very profitable, and in that sense, you need also to have an approach that is not very costly. So this is one tool that I recommend you to use, this segmentation according to the profile of people, using that profile of people according to the segmentation. And let me dig a little bit into this concept of hunters and farmers. You will see that there is a model that is also used in many companies that says that there is 4 basic personalities. There is people that are more red, we call it, people with a strong determination to execute, people that tend to be more rational, people that tend to be more extrovert, and in that sense, people that are more pushy. Well, this is the typical profile of a hunter. There is also a profile that we call it more yellow, that are people that are also very extrovert, a little bit more emotional. In that sense, they are more into the long-term sort of developing relationship, but still, they have very much the profile of a hunter. So typically, those 2 colors tend to be associated with someone with good capabilities to hunt. To hunt means to capture all the growth opportunities that they identify in the talent base. Then there are another 2 profiles that are more related with farming. That is the blue. Blue is a strong rigorousness to administrate, and there is a mechanical side in the relationship with the talent, meaning by mechanical processes, procedures, contracts, services that need to be well organized and need to be well administered. And then there is also this profile that we call the green. Green makes a great farmer because green is a strong sensitivity to understand the human dimension, the organic dimension of the relationship. And typically, if you want to create a sort of long-term relationship, you need a good green. You need sort of people with this green profile that eventually tend to be very strong farmers. And there are also some hunters that also are relatively good in that green side. That is all about a relationship, is about collaboration, is about sort of creating a sense of belonging, is all about understanding each other, these sort of things. There are people with strong capabilities for that, and eventually we need this profile also for both, for customers in which we have a strong position right now, either with a high potential or with not such a high potential. So we are almost there. We started with the what, then we moved to the why, then to the whom, and finally with the how. And with the how, let's start with some tips. Tips that tend to be sort of a good marketing and good sales together. And 3 tips that I want to emphasize. One is, develop a total clarity and focus on what is the ideal talent. Here is one of the paradoxes in life, is that the more clarity that you have on the type of people that you want to work with, and the more clarity on the type of talent that you don't want to work with, probably the better business that you will develop. Because it's not easy to develop a strong talent lifetime value if there is not that clarity, and if there is not this sort of specialization approach to a particular type of talent. Well, that's one tip. In case you can do it, I will strongly recommend it. Then make sure that you create what we call an irresistible offer. Meaning by this that we put together sort of a package of ideas and services that are very compelling. And please keep thinking that selling is serving. So for us, just to get a new talent on board is not a sale. It's a new opportunity to serve, a new opportunity to provide services, and that also provides this sense of purpose to what we are doing. And then the third tip is over delivery. So it's do more than you promise, because typically that positive impact, these doing things that they don't expect, these create what is called a good memory, and eventually part of this goodwill that is behind the lifetime value, the talent lifetime value is very much based on creating a goodwill. And basically, if I had to add another tip, is make them feel understood. Don't put so much emphasis on that they understand you, they understand our services, they understand our companies. Put a lot of emphasis in making the talent that you work with feel understood, because then the connection is going to be stronger, and then that's going to help us tremendously in increase the talent lifetime value and the number of people that we are going to be sort of serving. Another tool that I recommend you to use is this one that distinguishes between three variables. One is the price that we charge to our talent base. Second is the cost, and again, we need some analytical accounting so as to know how much does it cost us to serve that particular talent. But then the third variable, which is the most important one, is the willingness to pay. Willingness to pay is according to the experience that the talent do have with us, which is the price that they will feel comfortable. The ideal situation, and this has to do with the quality of the service that we provide, is that the willingness to pay is much higher than the price that we charge to them. And eventually the ideal situation is that the price is also quite a bit more higher than the cost. This is the ideal situation, because then you will have what is called the financial margin, that is, so to speak, the gap between the cost and the price. But then you have something that is very interesting that is called the mental margin. And mental margin is that gap between the price that you are charging and the willingness to pay. Typically, if we get this mental margin, then you get predisposition to continue working with us. I know that this is a simplification, but mental margin is very much related with the lifetime value. If we are able to develop a strong mental margin, then naturally people will stay longer, naturally people will recommend us, and then eventually that is going to have a very, very good impact on the talent lifetime value. So let's continue with the how. And we said before that you earn relationship by giving, by this attitude of service. But there is always going to be sort of some difficulties. Relationship, we've seen that with friends, we've seen that also with people from our family. At times there is misunderstanding. So part of the how has to do with conflicts, is how to deal with conflicts. And I suggest that you use this framework that allow us to understand what sort of conflict, because not all the conflicts are negative. And basically use this idea is how good is the relationship with the talent. Humanly speaking, professionally speaking, there might be good relationship or not so well developed. And then the other part is what sort of psychological safety have we developed, so that we cannot, both sides of the relationship, we cannot speak openly on the issues that are related with our relationship in a way that I feel comfortable talking about this issue, and also making the other part also feel comfortable about talking those issues. Those are the two variables that are the ones that define the type of conflicts that you end up confronting. Then the worst conflict, the one that is going to go against this lifetime value, is what we call cynicism. Cynicism is when there is not good chemistry among us, and also there is not sort of this psychological safety in which he or she and us feel free to talk about issues that are happening. This cynicism ends up sort of creating sort of a gap between them and us, and it's not going to help us. Also, there is another sort of type of conflict that is confrontation, that typically we won't have that. Maybe is that the relationship is not very good, but then we are very blunt in the way we say things, and then there is sort of this typical confrontation that at times may happen, but we don't expect this to be the norm. The beauty of the confrontation vis-a-vis the cynicism is that at least the issue that is important for both sides happen to be sort of on the top of the table, and that's good in terms of solving it. Then third type of conflict that is not going to help us for this long-term relationship, for this talent lifetime value, is what we call omerta. Omerta is that apparently we have a good relationship, apparently we sort of enjoy being together, but there are 2 or 3 or 4 important issues that we don't talk. Why? Well, because they are politically incorrect, because any one of us may feel uncomfortable. And omerta, as you know, is called the law of silence. And this happens in many organizations. In the mafia, it's typical from the mafia, in which one day you kiss each other, and then the following day you kind of kill that person. So there was a conflict, but it was hidden in a comedy of we like each other. So basically what I'm saying is, hey, if you want to increase the lifetime value of the talent lifetime value, you better work on developing a very, very good personal and professional relationship. And please keep working on something that is even more important, is a governance model in which the important things we talk every 2 weeks, every week, every month, but there is a good governance model, and there is a good way through which we manage that conversation so that both you and the talent feel very free to express their views, to express their impression, to give feedback and the like. This will create what is called a constructive conflict, a conflict that is based on a healthy discrepancy, a conflict that is based on real conversations. And by the way, these real conversations tend to be very much correlated with also long-term relationship. You end up sort of developing this trusted advisor type of relationship that is based on good relationship and also openness to talk about things. And where can you find opportunities for avoiding misunderstanding conflicts? Well, use this, what is called the talent corridor. And the talent corridor is not so much in terms of which are the contact points that he or she has with us, that this is part of it. But as we suggest, take another approach that is a little bit more emotional. And basically what we say is the following. Try to understand the way the talent feel depending on the interaction with us. And basically try to identify all those potentially negative emotional impact that we may have, making him or her feel neglected, misunderstood, alone, and the like. And try to identify also which are those contact points and which are the emotional impact that we have, the positive emotional impact. And basically the idea is obvious. The idea is keep working on creating more positive emotional, so to speak, impacts. And let's identify those elements in which we can create somehow a little bit this negative emotional impact, because the rule applies here also is 3 to 1. For every negative emotional impact that we may have through the relationship, we need to sort of come up with 3 very positive emotional impact if you want to leave the quality of the relationship the same status that it used to be. So basically, if we want to work on the lifetime value, the talent lifetime value, hey, we have to be really very good creating very many and very impactful positive emotional impacts on during the relationship with us. Hey, we are about to finish with some 2 final remarks that may help you also with sort of using better this tool of the talent lifetime value, but I think it's also applicable to many other aspects of our personal and professional life. And basically says the following: the stronger your conviction on something, the stronger your belief that this is a tool that is useful, the more convinced that you are that, hey, that for you this makes sense and this is something that also emotionally says something to you, then typically this is point 1. Then what happens is that you raise the ceiling of what is possible. You sort of think that you can do more things on this. Because there is a strong conviction, then there is this, you see that there is, you foresee better the potential of whatever is related with that conviction. Then that will be number 2. Number 3 is that out of this, you will deploy more action. You will take more initiative. You will sort of try harder. And number 4 is because you try harder, you took more initiative, then you get more results. And then because you get more results, then that is also going to feed back positively to your conviction. So basically what I'm saying is that, hey, if you build a strong conviction around the usefulness and about the goodness of this particular tool, you're going to go through this sort of a beautiful virtuous circle in which then you will dream about how to use it with more ideas, then you will take more initiative, then you will get more results, and then that will also increase your conviction. So that's one of the tools that I want somehow also to remind you. And then another sort of a more inspirational say is that the best homage that you can provide to anyone is giving him or her full attention. And this happens also in personal life and in professional life. And this is what is behind the talent lifetime value. That at the end, the other side feels, thinks, experience that you give him or her full attention. Thank you so much.